And welcome back to the Link Up. I'm Kim Smith Jenkins. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging with us today. We are so glad to be back because we decided to take an important break from the show. Over these past few weeks, it has been devastating. It has been emotionally draining. It has been really hard to grasp the hatred, the tragedies that we have seen across this country. And I feel personally connected to this story as a Black woman in America. Something that I worry about when my husband leaves the house, when my father goes outside. What will happen to them when they get pulled over? I think about it all the time. I think about raising a Black girl in America and the fact that I will one day have to teach her those lessons of what happens when you get pulled over, or how do you react when someone says something racist to you. And also teaching her the value and importance of cherishing and loving herself as she is, in her brown skin, her curly hair, and knowing that she is valuable. She is important to this world, no matter what the world tells you back. And so taking this moment to pause and reflect has been vital, not only for us as a company, but as a society, because we are starting to have conversations that, frankly, have been taken too long to finally come out. I've had friends and coworkers reach out to me asking me what they can do to support the Black community. I've had conversations with people who were questioning maybe some of the things that they may have said in their past, and they didn't know that were offensive at the time. And I think this is so important that we're talking, right? We've run away from it far too long. We've put it under the rug, and now it's out there for the world to see. And we're seeing it in a big way. We're seeing globally the outcry for justice. We're seeing people really standing up to taking down these images, these statues that represent oppression. And we're starting to see actual change. That is something that we haven't seen in the past when we had this unrest, when we had the protest. We didn't see structural change. And so now I'm happy to see that our voices are being heard, and that we are actually seeing people with power stepping up and saying, hey, we were wrong and we need to make this right. So with that, we are hoping that this movement continues, and we're hoping to create this platform and this space with Link Media to be able to be a place for inclusivity, to open up the doors for women of all ethnicities, but really emphasizing and focusing on women of color and providing a platform to amplify their voices, to elevate their stories, and to allow them to be prepared and to be protected in corporate America and in the entrepreneurship space. And speaking of entrepreneurship, I am so happy that I am able to be surrounded with some amazing women in my life. And the woman that's on our show today is near and dear to my heart. She is basically a sister to me. We have gone through it all together. We have seen our companies grow. We have seen our stories just evolve over time as our lives have changed, from marriage and now me being a mom, and just really sharing in the joys of life together. And we've cheered each other on in all of that. And that is what Link is all about, being able to stay connected and to have a circle of women that really empower each other, lift each other up, offer advice, tell each other when you're wrong, and tell each other when you're doing something right, and encouraging that as well. So today I'm so excited because Khat Brim is on the show, guys, and she is absolutely phenomenal. And Khat is great because so many things to her. The conversations that we have, they can go on for hours and hours and hours, but let me just brag on her for a second. Khat has built alongside her best friend as well, one of my best friends as well, Ashley Williams. They have built a multi-million-dollar hair extensions, beauty brand, and salon. And they also have done so many great things, like being featured on CNBC And with Khat, she's evolved in her career. She is now a beauty influencer. If you follow her at Khat Brim, she has more than 74,000 and counting, probably more after this show, because people love what she has to say about the beauty space. And she's also created some great partnerships with brands like Fenty Beauty and Olay. So Khat, welcome to the show, girlfriend. I'm so glad to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Like, Kim, I just love you so much. Like, everything that you're doing with this platform is just so aligned in purpose and in passion. And, I'm all for it. This is like everything that we've talked about over all the years. So to see you creating this platform for, women like me, like us, just so we can speak volumes and get everything that we're doing out in the open and on a platform, and to share it and to be inspirational. It means the world to me. So thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy. And, we have so much to catch up on because I know we've been all just inundated with all of the happenings in the world right now, and the social media feeds and the constant stream of stories and things that are coming in as we watch things unfold second by second, minute by minute, just watching it all. But then also just using the platform to talk about it, right? And so I think when you really look at what's happened in the last few weeks, I felt like, for Black people, I mean, we know that racism has been a thing. This isn't new under the sun for us. Like, we know these stories, and there are countless others of police brutality. We know it. But I think what was different, and I was telling Jared, my husband, about what was different for me and why I felt so consumed by George Floyd, was this was the first time that we actually got a straight on view at the police officer and his disregard for human life. And I think that is what struck me the most, because it wasn't a situation where it was a fast reaction and you shot someone or you had a scuffle. Like, this was literally 8 minutes, 46 seconds of you suffocating a man, basically, and not having any kind of empathy in your face for human life. And so I think that changed me on the inside, because I really saw hatred at its true form. And so for you, as you were processing what was unfolding, and then not only that happening in Ahmaud Arbery, and then also Breonna Taylor, and all of these stories starting to really come to light, what were you thinking as you were watching all this?
Oh my goodness, the amount of emotion that hit me, I felt like it was deja vu. I saw Eric Gardner immediately. It wasn't a new sight. I mean, it was very painful, but the moment that I saw the disregard for life and, this individual being dehumanized, those images of Eric Gardner and him fighting for his life and saying that I can't breathe, help, and no one officer saying, okay, enough is enough. Let's be first responders. Let's make sure that, that we are still, making sure that we're saving a life, even though we're trying to detain or whatever it is. Let's put this individual's life first. And to see the disregard for that, I mean, it was so heart-wrenching and just disgusting. And this one, it just hit the core of so many people. And I think that the change or the difference of this is that people who don't look like us, others, white people, they said no more. We've been saying no more. We've been fighting.
Yeah.
And I think that for the first time in my 30 plus years being here, I've seen someone else kind of jump in and say, hold up, let me, let me address this. Just stand back. Even though, we're all collectively doing our work. We're all collectively, we're marching, we're protesting. We're doing what we've been doing for centuries.
Yeah.
And it's as much as it has been our fight, it's time for the individuals who are benefiting off of the oppression, benefiting off of the privilege to fight. I don't think that the change completely solely comes from us, because we've been doing this for a very long time. The best thing that you can do is continue to have those conversations with your family, with your white friends, with your white colleagues, to have those conversations. And I think once those conversations continue to be had and continue to, unravel at their home, in their homes, and at, those board meetings and things like that, that's when we'll really truly see a system, break that wasn't really set up for us to win. So that's just kind of like how I feel about that. And that's, I mean, I love everyone, sharing information. I've definitely been using my platform to do that, to just take this time to even re-educate myself, because a lot of this information, unfortunately, we weren't taught this in school. If your Black parents weren't actively teaching you this and being, pro self Black love or pro these different things, or if your friends around you weren't learning this self knowledge that you would have to dig up and find. There's so many people that are so new to everything that's going on, because it has been, information that just wasn't talked about, or even, it wasn't in our school system. So, I think now that's a great, amazing thing with social media, is that it's allowing information to be spread rapidly and for people to ignite information and knowledge on topics that, that they wouldn't typically look into, or that they feel like wouldn't benefit them.
Khat, you hit on a lot of very important points. I mean, the fact that we are able to talk about these things and have these kind of conversations. You and I grew up in Atlanta. We grew up in the South, the home of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement. And even still, we did not have enough conversations about what happened to our past and to our ancestors. And so to be able to talk about these things now is so important. And as you mentioned, the ally in non-Black people right now is so important. But something that someone brought up in a meeting at work was about, do we want to call them allies, or should it be more of like an accomplice? Because if you think about ally, it almost insinuates this kind of white savior mentality and like going in and helping, the disadvantaged Black people. Maybe thinking of it as a partnership in a very terrible contract that needs a lot of amendments, and we need to get it right. And as you think about us, because we're all fighting for equal rights, right? So think about it as a partnership, because that puts you on equal ground, and we're fighting to make things right together. And I thought that was really, really significant to think about the words that we use and how we label ourselves in this fight. And the other piece of that is like the conversation. We both said it's important to talk about it, but something that has been brought to my attention is that a lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about it. And so my question that I pose back to them is like, how uncomfortable do you think I feel all the time when I'm always the only Black person in the space? When I walk into the doors into my corporate office, I'm usually the only Black person I see for the entire 8 to 10 hours that I'm in the office. And I am okay with it because I'm used to it, right? So flip it in reverse and imagine you being in that space and you being the only white person or non-Black person in the space. How would you feel? You would probably feel uncomfortable. But the thing is that they would probably think about it more than we have to. We live in a very much so white society. So we have to be used to we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's how we were brought up. That's how we were raised. You have to conform if you want to make it up the corporate ladder. You have to do these things to make sure that you are viewed as a valuable member of society, like you're doing the right things. You have to kind of pose. And so all of these things were ingrained in culture and in society, which are totally wrong, because whoever said that just white was right? I feel like now we're seeing the value in people and humanity. And that is what it's all about. It's about seeing color, seeing me in my Blackness and valuing it, valuing the stories that come from it and the history, and thinking about my trajectory and why I made it to this point in my career based off of me being the first person to graduate in my family. People don't have to think about that. Or the fact that, thinking about, you mentioned social media. My husband and I, we moved to a new neighborhood, and the first thing he does is post our family photo. People would think that's just like, hey, the new neighbors are in town. No, posting it so when you see my Black husband walking around the neighborhood, when that he lives here, and you don't need to send the authorities our way. Because we need to make it clear. And those are things that people don't have to think about, right? And that's a realization, because when my husband is walking around this neighborhood in a hoodie and he's by himself, possibly going to get the mail, we don't want someone rolling up on him questioning, why is he here? Because he may be we're like one of two on the entire block. So I think that, really embracing the fact that there are hardships that the Black and brown community go through in this country, and facing it head on and talking about it, and really seeing, what we can do to make change. And I think what's cool about what our conversations are all about, Khat, is like, how do we make change in our own communities and make impact? And that's by us, continue to climb and go higher, and being able to do things like employ people like you've done so wonderfully, like being able to provide jobs and being able to grow a business and to make impacts in our community, and supporting Black-owned businesses, because that is so important. And as you think about yourself as a business owner, what have you found has been, the most beautiful thing about launching, and not only launching a successful small business, but really elevating it to a really a largely recognized brand?
Well, I had to back it all up. For me, it all started with my family and the mentality that, my parents placed in my mind at a very early age, to be self-sufficient, to love who you are, and not to conform into this ladder of what success looks like, or to diminish your Blackness, to feel involved. No, you create and you develop for yourself, so you can, be someone who can add to your community. So seeing my parents do that within our community, being entrepreneurs, being go-getters, circulating the dollar within our own community, that built me up to be exactly what I am today. And that's been my Black privilege, to have that type of haven, seeing a community of Black and brown people who are following their own rules and setting their own standards for what self-sufficientness is, what entrepreneurship is, and how together we can, create change. So having a front seat at that, for me, that was like, that's all that I ever wanted to do, was to be able to work for myself and create, be a creative, and bring, my family and friends along, because that was something that just I cherished as a kid. And so having that mentality just aligned me right to where, I am today. For me, it's always just been understanding what self-beauty was. I was so thankful to have a father who embraced Black beauty so much. Instilled that into me and my sisters. Like, your skin is beautiful, your hair is beautiful, everything about you is absolutely beautiful, in a world where it was saying the total opposite. Yeah. So even though, I had my father there to say, like, all of these things are amazing about you. Don't change anything about your beautiful skin. Don't try to, straighten your hair. Don't try to, all these things. It still took me, to figure out that that was true, because everything else around me said it wasn't. Every billboard said it wasn't. Every commercial said it wasn't. Everything that was, the representation in front of me said it wasn't. So, but thank God for having just the foundation of confidence within my household, because eventually I started to realize it was true. That it was true that my Blackness is beautiful. I can create my own standards of beautiful. I can also help other girls who look like me embrace their beauty and embrace their hair textures and embrace, their skin. And having that ambition that stemmed from my parents instilling that into me allowed me to be a vessel and to do that at a very young age. And, any chocolate girl I would see, or any melanated girl I would see, just telling them how beautiful they were and putting that onto them. So we are creating this synergy of just like loving ourselves, because everything around us said that, we weren't. Yeah. So, and I think for me, and also just, like growing up, I lived right down, like literally not even a block from the beauty supply store. And that was just, I was infatuated with hair and beauty and all of that. So every day I would go there after school, like picking up a new product or finding a new item. I mean, I was just cleaning it out. Like I had a summer job just to go to the beauty supply store. By the time I was like 12 or 13, they gave me like a neighborhood discount, like for a stylist that a stylist would get. They were like, but just even that experience of going into a beauty supply store that is dedicated to women of color and not feeling like you're even understood, but you're spending hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars yearly. So for me at a young age, I knew that, like that was something that I wanted to change. That was something that, I wanted to make sure that I got a piece of the pie, because I wanted to create an experience that was different than, me walking into, a foreign beauty supply store and, they're just like, here you go. What do you want? And I can't ask a question. I can't say, well, what makes this product different than this product? Or my hair texture is like this. It's like, there's no consultation. It's really sad to know that for so many years that we haven't been able to, number one, we don't get the representation of what, beauty looks like. Now, in this last, 5 years? Yeah. 5 years we've been seeing in a different, like that. Oh, now we're included into what the spectrum of beauty looks like. For me, that was so important to, build a brand that had just that looks like people that look like me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and that's not to exclude anyone else, but it's to create our own table. I'm just, thankful for that type of upbringing, because it's definitely played a major part in just the passion of having, my beauty business and being a beauty influencer, and, and creating a hair extensions line that caters to textured hair. And, I'm just encouraging more Black entrepreneurs to continue to, create and develop a table of their own, and the rest will follow.
And that is what we're doing at Link Media. If you're not creating a table, we are forcing seats at the table, and we need to be in position to position other people. And that is what it's all about. And Khat, you bring up a really important point that I've learned in myself growing up in Atlanta, a very rare space to get that representation, to see Black excellence right in front of you, to know that, you can aspire to do whatever, whether it's being the mayor of the city or being a doctor, lawyer, entrepreneur. There were plenty of examples to point to growing up there.
We were truly blessed.
And now we're both on the West Coast, where it's not as prevalent, it's not as in your face, and it's sometimes very hard to find. So I think that has really challenged me to really step up in this entrepreneurial space, is to really, like you said, creating a table and to amplify our voices and to show our value and to do it in an authentic and genuine way. Not because diversity became a buzzword, or not because Black community is now a focus because something called it out, but because it is a genuine concern and passion of ours, and we want to address it and we want to provide a space for it. And I think that is so important that you guys are doing that in the beauty space, because like you said, people are addressing it when it's being called out, but it should have been there the entire time. And
absolutely,
even,
we're not blind.
Yeah,
the world should not have been just, so oblivious.
Especially thinking about how much Black women especially pour into the hair industry. It is insane the amount of money that is generated in that particular sector of the business. And as you think about the success that you guys have had with Hair or Us, and then to not get the support from banks, what were some of the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur as you were trying to seek capital?
One thing about me and Ashley, my business partner, is that we got to figure it out kind of girls. We are just, one door closes. That means that, hey, God must say that there's another way for us to go. We are just, we're not crybabies. And I think that it's so sad that we have to have such tough skin to continue, just to prevail. You know what I mean? Just when you're doing everything right, or you're setting yourself up in your business, I mean, crossing every T, dotting every I, and you know what I mean? Like you
met the qualifications, you're
you
approved.
meet all qualifications, and the door is slammed in your face. It's crazy. It's a numbness of, the system isn't there for you, so you can't cry over spoiled milk. What is the next thing that you have to do? And that has been the banking for my brand, when it comes to, just how we have tried to evolve financially with, dealing with banks. It's just, there's no love there. When we first started our business, we took $2,000 and within the first year turned it to 75 to 80 grand within the first year. After that, we turned it into 2 million and the second year. And we just flooded the gates, and we had everything, in order. We had just, our finances was running through all, the top banks, and we were getting shut down, completely shut down. The bank, big banks, like, we don't understand how you guys are making this amount of money. It's a red flag. We're closing accounts. So we went through the first 3 years of our business. We were hopping from bank to bank to bank, proving that we were a legit company, that we weren't selling narcotics, and that we were, we were rightfully making this money. So just trying to prove that your money is legit. You think that you're going to get a loan? You think that you're going to get any, credit to grow your business? None of that was an option, because we're trying to prove that we belong here. Just even looking back at that now, you just really see how much minorities, Black people in this country are at a disadvantage when it comes to so many different just segments of elevating.
Now that you see everyone saying, hey, we should have been funding Black businesses, and now we want to dedicate X amount of dollars to the Black community and to small Black businesses. Do you want that money?
We're not pressed. We're not pressed or impressed, so, it's great to get the list.
Because they think that is impressive.
Okay. I would be impressed my bank should be there for me first. My bank should be Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase. They should be there for me first, because we have the proven record with them. You know what I mean? We ran every transaction through that. PayPal should be there first. They shouldn't reserve us the way that they do. They shouldn't shut us down the way that they do. It's unreal. You're like, okay, well, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. But, like I said, like we're always figuring out the next thing. We're always figuring out like, okay, well, hey, we know that this race isn't set up fair. We just have to do what we have to do and continue to just make strides and just keep going forward. And, what is for us shall be. I shouldn't have to beg for my rights. I shouldn't have to beg and say, hey, look at me, I'm qualified. I don't got that kind of time. I got to just keep on moving forward and keep on going because, I can still become that billionaire with or without the help. I can still do what needs to be done. And
I have no doubt that you will do that, Khat. I know your ambition. I know your drive. And when you think about that ambition and drive, you continue to push yourself and evolve. And you have evolved from just being a business owner and hairstylist to now a beauty influencer. And you are touching so many people through your stories, through your Black love stories with your husband, and then also through your beauty products that you share. What's been the most exciting part about expanding your brand?
I think the most exciting part is just seeing yourself evolve and seeing like where your brand started from. I think when we have an aha to expand or to do something new and we execute that, it just makes us feel like, wow, like we're on our way again, or we're uncovering a new layer, a new chapter to just be of service to our community that we have built, our platform that we have built. And it just gives me an opportunity to just say like, wow, like, give me that little pat on the back, like, keep on going, girl, you got this. And I think this time has been such an amazing time of reflection, I would say, in the midst of everything that is happening, everything that is going on, we as, Black women, Black people we still have to protect our energy, and we still have to have our own self-care and pull out of the fight sometimes because we're already traumatized. We're already absorbed. We've been born into trauma just from being Black. So for me to have my peace of mind and to stay focused on expanding, stay focused on what's the next thing for, my business and where we're going, I have to remove myself and have self-reflection and see, okay, well, what's the next thing? And the pandemic has allowed me to do that, I would say. The pandemic of everything shutting down and, as serious as COVID has been, like that has been, and I'm very thankful that, so many people have been able to survive that. And my heart goes out to the ones who, are fighting that or have lost people from that. But in my experience, I have never sat down the way I've been able to sit down from everything having to be closed down. The way I have in over 10 years, if not longer. I've been like hustling on my grind since I was a teenager, like literally nonstop. And these past few months have just put so much in just perspective on how we're going to expand. What are the things that we're going to do differently? Just, like changing with the times and just also identifying like what is it that I really want out of the beauty space.
It's a great time, like you said, to use this time to build and continue to push forward. And I think especially, like I mentioned earlier, as the Black community, like really investing this time into how we can make our community better. And that's by building better businesses, building opportunities for more people to have jobs and to also change the perception of what it is to be Black in America. Like, let's change the narrative. Let's change the stereotypes, because you no longer can point to those things. And that's what I
Yeah.
want to see more of. And I think if we can do that as our community, like you said, we've been fighting for so long. Let's fight for our community by building our community.
By building.
And so I think that is key right now. And I know we're running out of time here, but before we wrap, Khat and I, guys, we could talk forever and ever and ever. Like,
I just
we
hope
could do
I'm
another.
hitting your
Let's do
point.
part 2.
So let me know
Let's
if
do
I'm
part 2.
rambling and I'm not like hitting them.
No, let's do a part 2 because we have so much more to talk about. I love hearing all of your insight. But let's get to our Woman of the Week, Pat McGrath. I love what she represents as a self-made billionaire, starting off as a makeup artist and just continuing to climb the ladders and just really creating a space for Black beauty on the mainstream level.
Yeah.
Like, you see her product in stores like Sephora, and to be the trailblazer in that space by bringing money and attention to diverse products is so important for us right now. So as you think about Pat McGrath and what she represents, Khat, what do you love about her?
My thing with Pat McGrath, I just pray that we all can give her flowers now. She is a game changer. She has set the bar, just so high, and it's so beautiful, like all that she's done, and she needs to be celebrated more. We need to celebrate her. There are so many people that don't even know who she is, or wouldn't even know that she's Black, and I feel like she's under-celebrated for sure. And we need to see her more hear more about her.
I would love to hear more about her story and to see her in the mainstream media more. I know like it's different, being in the UK, but I think that just hearing her story is so important for us right now. And I hope that someone maybe does a docu-series or something. Netflix, if you're watching, someone do a story about her. It's so important.
Because right now it's like, we only have the story of like Madam C.J. Walker, and she was amazing and astonishing. But there have been so many after her since then. And we need to continue to celebrate her, but we need to celebrate the present and the now of women, minority women of color who are making these strides. So that's what I just really hope that we see change the narrative on representation, and to celebrate people like Pat. So celebrate her glory and all that she has brought to, representation. And so that's what
Pat, we love you, and we want to hear more about your story. And Khat, your Black is beautiful, your heart is beautiful, and I'm so amazed by all that you've accomplished, and I'm so excited to watch this next chapter unfold for you. So thank you so much for spending a little time with me. I appreciate you, and
kisses and hugs for me.
I will give baby girl kisses for you. And you guys make sure to follow her on @Khat Brim, and make sure you to follow us on @Link Media. That's LNQ Media, and we'll see you next time on the Link Up.